All right. I sort of say Facebook world. You may be seeing this on Facebook or you may be seeing this on YouTube. My name is Cyndie Shelton, and I have been doing over the last few months a study from the Titus, or a Titus 2 study, I should say, from Created to Be His Helpmeet by Debi Pearl. I've been reading this book and sharing it with permission from the author. And today we're on the last chapter before we actually start getting into the Titus 2 points. And so I'm not sure if this is number 9, maybe, or number 10. But today it's called Kings and Kingdoms. And we're going to talk a little bit about reverence. Now, reverence is a term you don't hear a whole lot anymore. It's, kind of a term in days gone by, unfortunately. But it has to do with reverence, or excuse me, it has to do with honoring and respecting and even obeying our husbands. And that is not popular in this empower woman world that we live in. But God's way, God set up a hierarchy of headship, just like he does in the workplace. You have a job, or excuse me, like the owner and CEO and vice president and then, plant manager and supervisor and, lead or whatever. And so there's always hierarchy in every, you have to have you're going to have chaos if you don't have some kind of order, if you don't have some kind of structure. And the home, God designed the home to be that way as well. And so God set it up so that husbands are the head, and then wives are underneath them and children underneath them. And before you go ballistic on me and I start getting hate mail and thumbs downs and things like that, God did that because the man is accountable for what takes place in the home. So, ladies, you can kind of rest in that the men are the ones going to give the account to God for how they ran the home, things that happened in the home. And so if that's the case, of course, you're responsible for your personal things before God. You're going to give an account to God. We all are. But um, our husbands give an account for the home, and so God put the final decision is the husband's. Of course, you can give input, and hopefully, you have earned your husband's respect enough that he values your input, that he values what your experience and your wisdom, and that you just aren't always cutting him down and treating him like a jerk. And if your husband values because you treat him with honor and respect, he will value. And it gives you the freedom then to know that you are under his protection. And if you stay under your husband's protection, that umbrella, so to speak, then you are in the safest place to be. And again, I know that rubs against our grain, and I'm sorry. That is, you're going to take that up with God. He is the one that set up the that hierarchy of not only authority but just structure, so there's not chaos in the home. Have you ever seen a two-headed home where the wife is vying for headship with the husband? It's an ugly thing because they're constantly, instead of working together to accomplish their goals, whether it's raising children or building a life together, then then what you've done is you've created a monster, a two-headed monster trying to run your home. Okay, so today we're talking about kings and kingdoms, and we're going to be talking about reverence. And again, I'm reading from Created to Be His Helpmeet. This is a Titus 2 Bible study. This is for the ladies. I used to think I'm the one that reads the books and I'm the one that goes to retreats. I wish my husband, blah, blah, blah. You can fill in the blank. But you know what? Leave your husband up to God, and you just do what God wants you to do, and He'll be faithful to work in your husband's heart. So, God created Adam. This chapter 14, Kings and Kingdoms. God created Adam and commissioned him to take the position of leadership. Since then, every son of Adam has received the same command or mandate from God. Man was created to rule. It is in his nature. God created him that way. But the only place most men will ever rule is their own little kingdom called home. At the least, every man's destiny is to be the leader of his household. To deny him his birthright is contrary to his nature and God's will. So when a man is not in command of his own little kingdom and is not shown the deference and reverence that goes with that position, his kingdom will not be ruled correctly. And the subjects of that kingdom will not experience the benevolence of a king who truly loves and cherishes them. When you neglect to reverence your husband, ladies, you are taking something precious away from yourself, your children, and your husband. When the president of the United States makes a public appearance in one of the 50 states, even if he's not popular in that state, everyone spends time and energy preparing for him. For when he arrives, he is treated with respect. Well, maybe not so much nowadays, but that's the way it's supposed to be. It is not the man or his policies that people are recognizing. It is the office of president and what it stands for. God made your husband, quote, president of your family. Your husband is not there to show you deference or to be your helper. You were created to be his helper. That's what this book is all about, created to be his helpmeet. You may not like it. I'm sorry about that. Again, you have to take that up with God. But it is not God's will for your husband to reverence you. You are not the head of the home. That is not God's plan. You can be his helper and encourage him and support him and give great input and advice. And 9 times out of 10, if you've earned his respect by treating him with respect, he's going to listen to you anyway. And then you've got God's blessing because you've done it God's way. Our modern society has conditioned us to expect the men to serve the women. It hurts our feelings if he doesn't do things we feel like he owes us. And if we don't, but that is not the plan that God has set into place. Our failure to know and believe the written words of God has caused us to accept a cultural lie. Our culture stands diametrically opposed to God at every turn. You see it all around us. Christians are made fun of. Christians are slaughtered. I'm not going to go into all that, but the persecution is great. We're the ones that are made fun of. Christians are the ones that are ridiculed. They don't even want Christians in public office anymore. They don't want us as teachers. And yet we have so much to bring to every aspect of society because we are little Christ. We have Jesus Christ and the Holy Spirit living in us, enabling us to be good workers, to be good husbands, to be good wives. Perfect? No. Still sinful? Yes, but we have the ability to help impact and change our society. But more and more, Christianity and God's word is being ridiculed. Our culture does stand diametrically opposed to God at every turn. It is time to realize, though, that feminist beliefs have tainted almost all the public schools and even the best of Christian teachers. And God says his people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. Women feel they'll lose some of their self respect if they surrender to a man who is less than wonderful. Surrendering your autonomy to another is not for wimps. It's not easy. God didn't say it would be easy. People say of an obedient woman, oh, she's just the meek and timid type. She needs to get a life of her own. But they know not whereof they speak. This is not abstract, puzzling doctrine, she says. It's practical and pragmatic. The more, and this is Debbie speaking, the more I show my husband reverence, the more he treasures me and treats me like his queen. I found that to be the case in my home too. In our younger years, I was just so bold and brash and wanted my way. And women are manipulative. We can be very manipulative, and use emotions and sex to manipulate our men. And God, that is not honoring to God. But by bit over the years, God has taught me that reverencing, honoring, and showing respect to my husband has yielded such wonderful fruit in our lives. We are just like best friends. And he treats me literally like a queen. And when I was trying to when I was pushing to be the queen, pushing to get him to treat me the way I felt like I deserved to be treated, that he just resisted that because I wasn't very pleasant to be around. But when you learn to honor and respect your husband, you're doing it God's way. And when you do it God's way, God is able to bless you for doing that. So, the more I show my husband reverence, the more he treasures me and treats me like a queen. God made a man so that our deference and respect for him feeds his tendency to show tenderness and to be protective of us. Reverence is not just how you act, it's how you feel and how you respond with words and your body language. It's not enough to get up and serve him. Your eyes and the quick, carefree swing of your body must indicate your delight to be engaged in serving your man. You cannot fool a man. He can see your heart as well or better than you can. Keep an eye on his dinner plate so you can anticipate his needs. Deference is a hot cup of coffee while you take his shoes off after a hard day's work. Now, again, that may sound archaic to you and it may sound old fashioned, but you know what? It would not hurt for us to have a little old fashioned values in our home again. Let me ask you this. Now that women are running everything and that men are made out to be the idiots on all the shows on TV and the women are the top executives and the women are the top of the political chain and the women are the breadwinners and the women are the all wise decision makers. Not that we can't be, but because we've elevated women to that point and pushed men down where they're the doofus in the home, the goofball, the idiot, the one that everyone makes fun of. That that's wreaked havoc in our society. And let me ask you, look around. How is that working out for us? There are more single mothers now than ever. The divorce rate is through the roof, both outside of Christian homes and inside of Christian homes. We have made a mess because we thought we had to be the queen and king of the home. How is that working out? Um, Keep an eye on his dinner plate so you can anticipate his needs. Maybe you can take his shoes off after a hard day's work or massage his back, his shoulders. My husband loves that. He's just so tired and tense, and that just relaxes him. Um, Deference is a hot cup of tea or coffee. Okay, we talked about that. It's a glad face. Do you greet your husband with a smile at the end of the day and a kiss? Or do you greet him at the door with a grumpy smile because the kids have made you grumpy and you're tired from your job and you're tired from cleaning and you're tired from this? And so he gets the leftovers. He gets the nastiness, the grumpiness at the end of the day because you have nothing left for him. Or do you actually greet him with a smile on your face? Does he look forward to coming home to you after being with all the beautiful women in the workplace? All the women that are flirting with him all the time and showing off their cleavage and batting their eyes and all the things that we women do. Does he come home to a frowning, grumpy, criticizing, naggy, bitchy wife? Excuse my language, but is that what he comes home to? Or does he come home to someone who's genuinely glad to see him? Someone who's genuinely glad to make him feel like a man, genuinely glad to fulfill his needs, genuinely glad to make him happy. Is that how you greet your husband? Um, is it thankfulness? Do you show a thankfulness for his attention or do you push him off? Do you show thankfulness for his affection or do you push him away? Do you have a headache again? How many nights this last week have you had a headache? Deference to your man is the height of true femininity. It makes a woman beautiful, gracious, and lovely to all, but most especially to him. And I'm going to read this next letter. And again, this is from Created to Be His Helpmeet, read with permission by the author, Debi Pearl. This letter, this story is called Don't Mess My Hair. And this is an example of the opposite of reverence. Debbie says, a few years ago, I attended a meeting with my husband where a group of leading men were discussing very heavy and grave matters, trying to come to a conclusion as to what course of action they should take. The men sat in the circle with their wives sitting right beside them or maybe right behind them. Sitting across from me was a sober, earnest young man that I will call Charles, she says. He was there with his very attractive wife. In the midst of an intense part of the conversation, Charles leaned back and draped his arm around his wife's shoulder. She immediately reacted with obvious irritation, shaking off his hand off her shoulder and leaning forward as if to get away from his embrace. Then she carefully fixed her hair where his hand had disturbed it. His mind at that moment was jerked off the very serious problem at hand and was now focused on her, as was the attention of almost everyone in the room. To her, brushing him off was nothing. But to all those in the room, including her husband, it was an act of putting him down like a thoughtless, inept child. Everyone felt this man's humiliation. After that, Charles had nothing else to contribute. For the duration of the meeting, he sat downcast, properly chastened by his wife, put in his place with his hands in his lap. I wanted to get up and shake that girl until her teeth rattled. It would have shocked her to know that everyone in that room felt extreme disdain towards her for her self-centered response. She continued to straighten her hair and unaware that she had just shown a complete lack of honor and reverence toward her husband, and unaware that she was wasting her time to look pretty, for she had lost all that was lovely and feminine in that very act of disdain towards her husband. Carrying that kind of rejection on a regular daily basis, Charles will never fully be able to cherish his wife, and he will never have what it takes to become an effective minister or leader. Yes, she is his wife, and he will undoubtedly continue to love her, but his love will always be more of an attempt to win her love and her respect. Until she repents of that, he cannot love her with abandoned joy. A man's ego is a fragile thing. How can a man cherish someone who cares so little for him and so little for his reputation? Her act was a testimony of the state of her heart. She thought more of her hairdo than her husband's honor. She was rebelling against God in not reverencing her husband. To reverence is an active verb. It is something you do. It's not first a feeling and then a voluntary act. As we reverence and honor our husbands, they are free to mature before God and to minister to others. Charles was not free. He was troubled and bound inside. Regardless of how a woman may feel about her husband, she can choose to obey and honor him. In other words, you may not feel like your husband is honor worthy or respect worthy. And that may be true, but that's not for you to decide. Your job is to honor him and respect him and reverence him regardless. God can give you the grace. He says in his word, his grace is sufficient. He can do that for you. You make the effort, God will honor that. And your husband will come around and cherish you. And if he doesn't, if he never does, you will still have the peace in your heart that you took the high road and chose to reverence and honor and respect your husband, even if he didn't deserve it. You can and will do what you ought to do much sooner if you aren't motivated just by your feelings to act. As we said earlier, when you choose the right way, you choose to do right, the feelings will follow. Now, it doesn't seem fair that the wife is expected to honor and obey her husband, even if he has not earned that right. And husbands, if you're watching this video, don't go home and say, well, you should honor and respect me, and you should treat me like this, and you should treat me like that. I watched this chubby little fat lady today on a video said, you're supposed to reverence and respect your husbands. And although that is true, if your wife does not honor and reverence of you, first of all, check yourself. Check to make sure you are being honorable, that you are respect worthy, that you are loving her unconditionally. And if you treat her that way, even if you don't feel like it, trust me, it will be much easier for her to reverence and honor you. But ladies, even if he doesn't act that way and he doesn't always treat you well, and maybe he passes gas, maybe he burps, maybe he smells after working outside all day, maybe he's grumpy because he's tired, that's not the point. The point is you're still to respect and honor him, no matter what. And you do right, and the feelings will come. It doesn't seem fair that the wife is expected to honor, obey her husband, even if he hasn't earned the right. But she must, and she must learn the right. She must also earn the right to be loved. You want your husband to earn the right to be respected, then turn that around on yourself, and you must then, in turn, earn the right to be loved. I know. I can hear the hate already. And I tell you what, I hear much, much more hate from ladies, even in the Christian realm, because they know it's true. They aren't living it and they're under conviction. And I know that from experience. I have been there. So you are not alone. But remember, this is me, and Debbie says this, but I could say this too. This is the aged women telling the young girls what they can do to make a heavenly marriage. You cannot command your husband to love you. And you have no right to expect him to love you when you treat him like crap, when you are unlovely to him. But God has provided a way for woman to cause her husband to love her, to cause her husband to cherish her. God gave us ladies some keys to the avenues of a man's heart. God made it so that we can actually respect him and honor him into fulfilling his God ordained duty. His very nature is made to respond to us if we will only treat him with reverence. Excuse me. A man does not have such power to influence his wife. Women are not built with the same response mechanisms. Women don't have the same ego as men. God did not give men the wonderful promise that he gave to women, that they could win their wives with prayer and proper behavior. But women have a beautiful hope and promise from God based on his word. The tale of the purple flowers PJ girl. She says, this is Debbie. Again, I'm reading from Created to Be His Helpmeet with permission from the author, Debi Pearl, and No Greater Joy Ministries. She says, just last week while I sat in my van in the parking lot of Walmart, and we all have seen a lot of these kind of things at Walmart, waiting for my daughter, I watched the people as they walked into the store. It was an interesting study in human relations. Of the 25 or so couples who walked into the store together, only 3 of them were touching each other. And those 3 ladies were the only ones smiling out of the 25 I observed. On a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being the prettiest, all 3 of these gals were 1s or 2s. One lady looked several hard years older than her young, tall, handsome husband, but he had a delighted smile on his face as he watched her every move, possessively leading her by the arm. It was clear that she was telling him that she was enjoying telling him her tale, whatever that was. I could see it was a good story because he threw back his head and laughed freely just as they walked through the door. He was enjoying his woman. Another couple passed by quietly, deliberately brushing up against each other, saying nothing, but the woman's smile said everything. The third smiling couple took the award of the day. He was a muscled up, gorgeous hunk, and she was almost past describing. She was wearing flannel PJ bottoms that were cut off just above the knee. The shortened pants had 5-inch purple flowers scattered all over the white, almost see through material. She was short and at least 50 pounds overweight, with most of the extra weight bouncing in the skin tight PJ shorts. Her hair was chopped off in an ugly cut and really greasy. Her gorgeous hunk had her in a headlock hug. She was laughing and poking him in the ribs while hollering for him to let her go. You would have thought he was hugging Miss America by the way he was grinning. He was really enjoying his purple flowered sweetie. I caught his eye and he grinned back at me, not one bit embarrassed. That gal had totally won his heart and my respect. He was proud to be her man. Of all these beautiful girls who had walked into Walmart while I waited, it was the girl who publicly being adored. It was the girl who was publicly being adored and appreciated. I suspect she had never removed her husband's hugging arm around her shoulder for any reason, much less to save her hairdo. She has accepted all of his overtures with thanksgiving and delight. In the coming pages, as we start studying the Titus 2 portion, we will discuss how we need to cook and clean and take care of our children, and these are important and necessary. But the buck always stops right here at the action word reverence. A man will allow his woman many, many faults as long as he knows that she thinks he is great. If she will just look into his face with adoration, if she is thankful for him loving her, he will adore her. She can dress awful, be grossly overweight, have terrible hair, not cook so well, be a little lazy and dumb, and not be one bit pretty. But if she will just think and show him that he is wonderful, he will love her. It sounds ridiculous, but it is the way of a man with a maid. Women, on the other hand, want their husbands to perform. They expect them to be spiritual, hardworking, diligent, sensitive, and attentive parent, or they will take personal offense and begin a campaign in changing him to their image of what they want him to be. I find it amazing that a woman would marry a man and then be angry because he continues to act like one. Elizabeth Elliot, in her book Let Me Be a Woman, wrote to her daughter. She said, "I had been a widow for 13 years when the man who was to become your stepfather proposed. It seemed to me the miracle that could never happen. That any man had wanted me the first time was astonishing. I'd gone through high school and college with very few dates, but that to be wanted again was almost beyond my imagination. I told this man that I knew there were women waiting for him who could offer him many things that I could not offer, things like beauty and money. But I said, there's one thing I can give you that no woman on earth can outdo me in, and that's appreciation. The perspective of widowhood has taught me that." As I cast around in my mind and heart for a way to define for my readers, again, this is Debbie talking, what it means to reverence a man, that letter from Elizabeth Elliot to her daughter comes to my mind. The very heart of reverence is extreme appreciation and profound thankfulness that your man, just as he is, chose to love you just as you are. Make a list of things that you could do to cause your husband to feel your honor, your respect, and reverence. Things that would matter to him, but maybe not my husband or somebody else's husband. You know your husband. You know how you can show him honor and reverence and deference and respect that will mean something to him. And then write these things down. Keep them on a 3x5 card and keep it in your purse or someplace where you can refer to it often as a reminder. A lot of times we want to do these things, but we forget. We get caught up in the busyness of the day and feeding the children and taking care of the home. And maybe we work outside the home and we're tired and, we just forget. Don't forget. Write these down. Write ways down that you can bless and reverence your husband. Um, God defined your role when he said the head of the woman is the man. The man was put in charge before the woman was ever created. God explained his plan clearly when he said, I will make her, excuse me, to be a helpmeet for him. God was making it crystal clear that a man is never to be his wife's helpmeet. It doesn't mean he can't serve you if he wants to. If you have a man, excuse me, like that, and I do. He didn't used to be like this. But now he loves to cook, so he cooks all the time. He loves to bring me a plate. He loves to, uh, you know, he loves to give me pedicures. There are just, I don't expect it of him. As a matter of fact, it kind of embarrasses me when he does it, but he loves me and he wants to show it. I don't expect it. And he knows I appreciate him, but he wants to treat me like a queen. And I tell you what, I'm far from perfect. I am far from as reverent as I should be. I am far from respectful as I should be. As a matter of fact, this past weekend was a fail. I mean, I failed miserably. I said and did something that was just way out of line. And he came back and responded. I mean, after a few minutes, he needed to walk away, but he came back and he said, "Can I do your feet now?" And what am I? I just wanted. If he had come back and told me I was a witch and all these things, then, you could get all self-righteous and, you could dig your feet in. But when they come back and respond with love when I don't deserve it and kindness when I don't deserve it, what can I do but reach out to him and treat him with reverence and kindness and honor? And God told us why a woman was never to be authority in the home and to think of herself more spiritually than the man. He says, for Adam was first formed and then Eve. And Adam was not deceived, but the woman being deceived was in the transgression, and then Adam followed her. When we thoroughly understand our role as helpmeets, begin to practice joy and thanksgiving. Smile when your husband comes home from work tonight. Greet him with a kiss that he hasn't gotten from you in a while, and maybe whisper something in his ear that will delight him, or make him a special dinner. Put his feet up. Bring him coffee. Do something that hopefully doesn't shock him so much you send him into heart palpitations, not in the wrong way, send them into heart palpitations the wrong way. Delight your man. Delight yourself in your man. And I promise you it will pay off in ways beyond imagine what you can imagine. So I hope this has been a blessing to you. Please, if this video was a blessing to you, an encouragement to you, share it with others. You can give it a like. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't done that already. And I will see you next time. We'll be starting the actual Titus 2 portion of the book created to be his helpmeet. See you next time.